as a woman, I do see myself as a helper first. I put my husband and my kid before all my outside choices, and that's even with work. So like, if I had a chance at a really good position, it's just natural for me to be like, okay, husband, how do how does this fit in? How does this, do that? But a lot of women these days, I don't think they do that. They feel like that they have to always cover themselves because of what the societies these days are putting out, as in, oh, ladies, you need to make sure that you got your stuff together, because if a man leave you, you ain't gonna have this, you ain't gonna have that. But it's really not really like that.
Women actually have two purposes. It's like whether you're working or not, you either need to be making money on behalf of the family or saving money on behalf of the family. I think what men have a problem with is you thinking you not working and draining me, because he's just going to wish he was married to somebody else. Right? So when we look at the people who do this correctly, effectively, they have a plan. Meaning, the wife is basically there saying, what do you need from me? When you see a woman staying home, she's saving money for the entire house. He's not eating out. She got the lunch ready. She all kind of way. She's worth her weight in gold in that way. Plus, she's willing to live under what he can provide with no complaint.
It was crazy, but I do have a question really quick. Like, so I heard somebody mention something about like men not, like, because everything is so expensive, you need two people's income right now. And my question is, like, this might be a little bit off topic, but like, if you think that more men were making more, do you think that they would be open to financially taking care of all the bills? Or do you feel like it's only because they don't have enough? Or do you think if a man was in that position, he would be able, or he would be willing? Because I've heard some women say, like, men just want women to work. They saw their single mom work hard, so they just want women to work. So I'm saying, if you think that they have the finances to do that, would they do that? Just y'all's thoughts.
I think that it's not that they want us to work, but probably it's easier and it removes some weight out of their shoulders, and they get comfortable, because that can happen to anyone. As humans, you get stuck in a position and then you get too comfortable, and then you don't want to grow because you're like, I'm comfortable here. Like, anyone that has work, I think it happens to everybody. So when someone is removing some of their responsibility over your shoulders, you kind of feel like, well, I don't have to do it. But then you start to forget about other things, instead of like saying, okay, you know what? It's fine for her to work for 2 years while I accomplish this, get to this position, earn more money, and then she can stop working. That's a goal, and I will respect that. But, people just get stuck. That's, in my opinion, that's what happened.
Yeah. On that particular one, it's such a hard one to answer because, I don't know what cultural basis we're going to use as the foundation for like women working or not. So I'll just base it like this. You have to understand, for most men in general, their advancement is tied to their family's advancement. So the second he starts making more money, it's literally in us to know that this means better provision and opportunity for my family first, before myself. Right. So I'm telling you right now, I don't have a statistic for it. Look at how many women get a new car before the husband. Right. Who's driving the better? Who's driving? Like my father, when he got his bag, there was a big ass Navigator sitting in front of the house one day, and that old ass Mazda truck. And I was like, whose car is this? Your mother's. So because she carries all my children around in it. Right. So that is just the nature of man. My provision is tied to the advancement of the entire family. Now, the funny thing about this conversation about women working, women actually have two purposes. It's like whether you're working or not, you either need to be making money on behalf of the family or saving money on behalf of the family. I think what men have a problem with is you thinking you not working and draining me, because he's just going to wish he was married to somebody else. Right? So when we look at the people who do this correctly, effectively, they have a plan. Meaning, the wife is basically there saying, what do you need from me? When you see a woman staying home, she's saving money for the entire house. He's not eating out. She got the lunch ready. She all kind of way. She's worth her weight in gold in that way. Plus, she's willing to live under what he can provide with no complaint. So men would be perfectly fine with all of that. Remember, because people say, oh, men want lavish things. No, we don't. the first single dude you can remember, I'm sorry, first dude you ever went over his apartment, what the hell did that shit look like? That was men
We're
can
not gonna
live
talk
a
about
minimalistic, yes,
it.
a very minimalistic lifestyle without women there. So
Hey, hey,
we will not complain.
You know what, Trigger? You're absolutely right. Because a guy told me this before. He was like, I don't really care. Like, I'm okay with living like bare minimum. Like, I can eat a sandwich every day. I can live in an apartment. Like, I don't care. He was like, but I feel like if I had a woman in my life, like it would force me to work harder because I would want to give her certain things and let her. And I was just like, why wouldn't you want that for yourself? In my head, that's what I'm like thinking. But now hearing another guy say it, like it puts things into perspective. It makes sense.
So I want to take it a.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ina.
Thank you. So I just want to take it a step further, right? Like when that woman is at home, because she's taking full responsibility of the home, right? Like in terms of managing it, in terms of the upbringing of the children, she's also taking that off that man's plate, with which only increases his productivity. What happens is with stay-at-home mothers, stay-at-home wives, it's not that they're not doing anything, right? Like there's still labor involved in taking care of everything that's inside of the home, especially if he becomes wealthy, then there are multiple homes to manage, right?
Mhm.
So with him not having to worry about that, the details of that, the finances around that, it is just completely taken off of his plate. Those extra hours then get put into work, which only continues to increase what he's bringing home, right? So everybody benefits from that dynamic. I think to your question, Kars, what's happening is that women have been taught that in order for their labor to be valued, it has to be in the labor market and not in the home. And so I think that men are now retaliating by saying, well, okay, if that's what you want, then you're going to have to fit the bill for some things, right? I don't think that it's necessarily that the cost of living or the cost of just like having children has gone up. I think it's the amount of things that people feel they need in life, that consumerism, that materialism. I think there's just too much of that going on. And people are not choosing to live within their means. I think, I don't know what the stat is in the US, but I think in Canada, they're spending $1.70 for every dollar that they're earning. The average Canadian is living in debt, right? Most people are not living within their means. And I think that is really where like this false narrative of life has gotten too expensive. No, you just haven't learned to live within your means and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? And that has just made things so much more complicated when it comes to finances.
That was really well said, Inaz.
For sure.
I totally agree with everything you said. And also to add on to that, and also what Trigger Mike was saying, other cultures and maybe even olden days in the United States, women always worked. It was just for their husbands, whether it was secretarial work or whatever they were good at. They worked for their husbands as well as took care of the home. So we could consider that if we're not trying to go back to, the 9 to 5 workforce. That way you're saving money, you're, putting money into the family, and you're creating generational wealth for your future children or your children. So that's also something that I think we need to, look into and think about, because we women, we're helpers. That's what we're supposed to do. That's in whatever aspect that could be. We are here to help our men. And it could be just taking care of the kids. It could be with his business or whatever it is. That's what we're here for.
But like a lot of women these days, they kind of see things differently. But for me, I agree with you. As a woman, I do see myself as a helper first. I put my husband and my kid before all my outside choices. And that's even with work. So like if I had a chance at a really good position, it's just natural for me to be like, okay, husband, how does this fit in? How does this, do that? But a lot of women these days, I don't think they do that. They feel like that they have to always cover themselves because of what the societies these days are putting out, as in, oh, ladies, you need to make sure that you got your stuff together, because if a man leave you, you ain't gonna have this, you ain't gonna have that. But it's really not really like that. I think that somebody had put that poor message out there, and I think it has been toxified into a lot of women's head the wrong way, but it's really not like that. So I think that that whole narrative has been really misled by a lot of females. So that's why a lot of women may look down on other women who put their husband first, who put their kids first, and then put themselves last. Because I know personally, like I got kind of like bad comments from some of my friends. Like when I would serve my husband his food first and you know, and do stuff like that, they're like, what, that's normal? I'm like, well, baby, number one, this is my household, this is how we do, and he taking care of business, so we good over here. But
were these married women or single women asking you this question?
they were both. It was weird. It was both. But the
Mm.
single, but the married, okay, so the other married woman that asked me that, she's like a workaholic. So it's like our lives were just like, we're just two different married women. So it's like she really didn't, like, that wasn't her go-to thing first. It's like her job and then her household. But for me, it was opposite. So I was like, okay, well, honey, I can't relate to that because, you know, it is what it is. But I think, you know, that false message has been put out there to women that you have to come before the family that you help create with your husband. And I just wish that women will fix that message because it's not as bad as it sounds. I promise. You just have to pick a great guy and you guys have to talk, conversate, have the conversation, like put it out there before you just go and just do all the crazy decisions. So
Yeah, it's all fear based, you know. Whatever
I was
you
about to
water
say
will
that.
grow. You know, you
yeah.
gotta water your relationship and work towards something together. You can't just be like, well, he's gonna leave me, so let me have my little nest egg. You know, then he will definitely leave you because you won't be putting that effort into your actual relationship, into your family. So we really have to stop being so afraid. Yes, you have to pick correctly, like Shak said. Yes, you have to, but when you're in a marriage, you have to put that effort in every single day, even when you don't feel like it, or else it will fail.
I love hearing this come from two married women. That's super dope. I'm just saying this is it's helpful. So next topic. Did anybody have anything else they wanted to add before we move on?
I wanted to say that happened to me too. Like, there's this girl that asked me, like, because I see it as a privilege, like being able to stay with your kid at the house and taking care of them. So thank you, pandemic. You know, there's few things that we can thank to this thing. I can say that it made me realize that I didn't want to go back to work if I didn't have to, you know, and I didn't have the privilege to stay with my kid. You know, she was going to daycare since she was 3 months. So when I had the pleasure, privilege, and blessing to stay with her in the house and, you know, give her a warm food and all that, it felt really good that to the point that when I went back to the office 2 years, you know, staying home after I went back, I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't. So I had to find something to do that I could do from home without, you know, because my daughter is 10, so it's not a baby that needs me all the time. So I can still do something and do something productive and not having to, you know, not take care of my house. So when this girl asked me, you know, and I told her I want to stay with my kid, and that was the reason why. She's like, "What? No, I want to grow. I want to be successful." And la 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 la. And I was like, "You don't have someone to support you, and you don't know what it feels like to just like you know, and not being afraid of just letting yourself go and knowing that someone got your back." So I totally agree that that's coming out of fear.
Yeah, I think a lot of women have been traumatized. Well, some, I don't want to say a lot. Some women have been traumatized, and like it's that woman that's been traumatized with a bad situation who goes and puts out that message of just in case, and it's like, baby, that was your experience, and I hate that for you, but that doesn't mean that's going to be everybody. I don't think you should be pushing that on everybody because, like, look what we have right now as we speak, which kind of slides us into the next topic. Chanel, were you going to say something?
I was just briefly going to say success doesn't always have to be monetary. You can have a successful family. You know, sometimes
Exactly.
women today, we're seeing success as, oh, I got this, you know, promotion and da da da. But success can be watching your children grow into amazing human beings. So we should change our minds about that.